We're joined now by head coach Roy Williams of the North Carolina Tar Heels, as well as student athletes Joel Berry, Kennedy Meeks, and Bryce Johnson. We'll ask Coach Williams to tip things off with an opening statement. Then we'll take questions first for our student athletes only.
Okay, opening statement. Needless to say, we're ecstatic, but I'll get something out of the way first. I really wish Stuart Scott was here tonight. And I really wish Dean Smith and Bill Guthridge and my best friend in Chapel Hill, Ted Seagroves, were here. It's been the last year and a half. It's been awfully difficult because of all of that, but they're up there smiling somewhere and having a good time, and Stuart's saying booyah, so I like that part. Second part I'd like to get rid of, I was back there listening to Jimmy's questions. Jimmy told you to stop asking him about retirement, said, ask Roy, you have asked me that question 5 times since I got into town. If I'm going to retire, I think I'll retire in the next 2 minutes. Now, how good do you think the chances are of me going to retire in the next 2 minutes? So don't ask that stupid question either. Other than that, it's a great afternoon, a great night. I screamed as loud at my players in 1/32. Thank you, Bryce. It's an honor for you to say good job. But had a timeout because we let a loose ball roll on the floor, and Syracuse got after it more than we did. Had 2 turnovers and 3 possessions. And then we had a rebound that comes out, and we had 4 guys stand there and look at it, and Syracuse got that one. And so my pulse went up quite a bit. My heart rate went up quite a bit. But after that, Joel Berry, Marcus Page, Bryce, Kennedy, those guys really did a nice job. And couldn't be prouder for a team than I am for this team right here. We beat a Syracuse team that had been great down the stretch, and it's very difficult for us to play. We didn't shoot the ball in the hole on the 3-point line in the first half. Jimmy Gray asked me coming out at halftime if we were going to keep shooting them. I say yes, because North Carolina tries to have good balance of inside and outside. And the 2 biggest baskets of the game are when they cut it to 7 and Marcus makes a 3, and I think Theo makes a 3 right behind it. But these guys up here were sensational, and I couldn't be having a more fantastic ride than I'm having right now.
We're looking for questions for our student athletes only at this time. If you have a question for the Tar Heels student athletes, please raise your hand. We're looking for the first one, and we have one all the way in the front, in the center. Name and media outlet, then your question.
David Melanger of Philly Sports Live. This is for the players only. What are you guys' thoughts about playing Villanova on Monday night?
Kennedy, please, first, followed by Joel, then Bryce.
Villanova is a great team. They're coached by a great coach, and they do some of the similar things as we do. Our main goal is to play the similar game to when we played tonight and get the ball inside and really try to pound it in there and knock down our free throws.
Joel?
I think they do a great job of taking pride on the defensive end. As you saw tonight, they won by, I don't know how much, 44, but I think they did a great job of taking Oklahoma out of what they wanted to do. So, we just got to be able to move the ball, do what we always do, and get the ball inside, play inside out, and everything else will be good. So.
And Bryce?
Just like those guys said, we just got to go out there and just play our game. I mean, those guys are a really good team. They're very hot right now. They really held, one of the best players in the country to little or nothing today. And, they all play together. They really spaced the floor. We just got to go out there and play. We're going to have the same mentality that we did tonight against Syracuse. They have a great shooter in Chris Jenkins, and just got to go out there and just play our game.
Continuing with questions for the student athletes only, just to the right of the aisle.
Luke DeCock, Raleigh News and Observer. Joel, why do you think your dribble penetration and your attacking on the perimeter was so effective tonight when that's something they usually handle pretty well?
Yeah, their 2-3 zone is really wide. It's different than another team, because the other team, they usually just go in it just to stop or slow down the team that they're playing against. But I just tried to give them a ball fake, whether it was off a pass and a shot fake or faking a pass, and then I just tried to get inside. And like I said, our big man did a great job of showing their hands on the baseline, and that's what we had success at, whether it was Bryce throwing it down to Isaiah or to Kennedy. So, it's just this time it was penetration that made the big man in the middle step up, and we were able to get it on the baseline.
Next question for the student athletes is going to come all the way in the back, all the way in the center.
Jerry Lee Willard, Jr., the College Sports Report. Bryce, just talk about, right here, just talk about the sequence when Syracuse got the score down less than 10, and you all had to make buckets.
Get buckets? I like that.
To make buckets, that's right.
Well, in that situation, I mean, we expected them to press, and I mean that's what we wanted them to do. I mean, they wanted to try to speed us up. I mean, we had a couple bad turnovers here and there, but at the end of the day, that's the way we want to play the game. I mean, if you look at the results of the game, we got a bunch of layups out of that situation. I mean, we did a great job of just playing the way we know how to play, and just play with a lot of poise and not turning the ball over.
Continuing with questions for the student athletes, if there are any. If you have a question for the North Carolina student athletes, please raise your hand. If there are no more questions, we'd like to thank Kennedy and Joel and Bryce for joining us. They're going to head back to the locker room, which is still open. Did you have one? We have one? All right. Let's go back to the middle.
Kiera Luck with Black Sports Online. This is for all of you. Talk about the balance between you guys. You guys have all had 15, 16 points. What was it like to be balanced out so well tonight?
And let's start this one with Kennedy down at the end.
I think we're a capable team of doing it every night. I think those guys are great scorers. We did a great job of executing, and when we're sharing the ball, I think the sky's the limit for this team. Coach always puts us in the right positions to do so, and that's why we've been pretty balanced the last couple games.
Same question for Joel.
Yeah, that just goes to show the balance of our team that, you know, we don't have to throw it to Bryce all the time to get some baskets. We don't have to throw it to Kennedy or Justin or Marcus or myself. It just shows the balance, and that's what kind of team we are. We're not all about ourselves. We're all about just making a good play, and whether it's someone else scoring or you getting the basket yourself. But overall, it just shows the balance that our team has on the offensive end.
Final thought on that from Bryce.
Oh yeah, I mean we're a team that we love each other. We don't really care who gets the credit. I mean tonight, and we love to share the ball with each other. I mean we all just know the way we want to play. We where each other wants the ball, and I mean Joel did a great job of looking and finding everybody in open spots. Marcus was hitting some big time open shots. I mean if you're going to leave Marcus Page open, I'm quite sure he's making a great deal of those. And I mean even like guys like Theo really stepped up there and made some big time shots, including Joel too. Joel played some terrific minutes in the first half, and I mean. That's what we want to play. We just want to play together. I mean, it's a team sport. I mean, we don't really care who gets the most points. It's just we'd rather it be spread out the way it was today.
Any final question for the student athletes from North Carolina? All right, we'd like to thank once again Kennedy, Joel, and Bryce. They're going to head back to the locker room, which is still open for a few more minutes.
Yeah, right.
We're looking for the first question at this time for Coach Williams, and there's one all the way in the back on the left side of the aisle.
Coach John McCann with the Herald Sun in Durham. We love to second guess your coach, whether it's, you know, put Marcus Page back on the ball, whether it's take Kennedy Meeks out of the starting lineup, but you stuck to your guns. How much of that, you know, for Kennedy to have the success he had tonight, how much of that during the season was total confidence in your guys versus a coach hoping that his guys would get it together?
Well, John, take this the way it's intended, not to be as critical, but I'm a hell of a lot smarter about basketball than you guys are. I mean, I'm serious. What do you do after basketball season's over with? You cover baseball. What do you do after baseball's over with? You cover football. I don't take any breaks. And, you know, this year more than ever, I heard announcers and writers question things more than I've ever heard. And one of the other guys said, you know, we're not in the locker room. We're not at practice every day. And, you know, if you ask me if I'm as smart a sports fan as you, I'd say probably not, because I don't work on those other sports. But I do see our guys in the locker room every single day. And the last question, and I wasn't paying attention to know who asked it, but we want to be a balanced team. I've got to have some contributions from everybody that plays. And it is something to listen to or read. I haven't read very much recently this year, to be honest with you. I haven't read many articles, but that's the best answer. You know how many practices we've had? 98 practices, and not just you, because John, I like the way you asked the question. You didn't hit the wrong buttons or anything. You did it nicely. How many of you guys came to any of our practices? Michael came to one. Somebody else came to. But I mean, you think about that. I would never criticize somebody about something that they know a heck of a lot more about. Bill Guthridge had the best statement: do not condemn thy neighbor unless you've walked in his moccasins for 2 full moons. All right? Now, I have to explain that to my guys to understand what moccasins is and how long moons last. But it is. It's journalism to a certain degree today. And so it wasn't stubbornness. It was intelligence. You know, and You know, if we get beat Monday night, it's not going to be stubbornness Monday night. It'll be because Villanova played better. But you think about it in those terms right there, and you know, when I retire in 2035, okay, I want to be an announcer 1 year because I want to be the only announcer to never criticize coaches acting like I know more than they do, and they've been with their team every day. But thank you for asking the question the way it is, John. Thank you.
To the center of the room, Coach, for Nancy.
Nancy Armour, USA Today Sports. Roy, after the two games last week, I'm sure you probably knew that Syracuse was going to press late in the second half. What did you see on film or from having played them that you knew you would be able to do and have better success, obviously, than Gonzaga or Virginia?
Well, I've been around long enough to play Jimmy when his teams pressed a lot, not just late game scenario like they have the last 2 weeks. When we played Jimmy, gosh, in 2000 or 2001, no, we played him in 96 or 97 in the Elite Eight game, and they pressed at that time. So I've always thought of him as being a coach who could really press. He'd get his teams to do it the right way. So every game we've played Syracuse in my entire life, we've worked on press offense a couple of days before practice. And the other thing is we work on press offense every day. And so for us, it was something that we thought was going to be happening at some point. We hoped, because that probably meant we were ahead. And so we do it all the time, and we try to play an up and down full court game. We do a thing called press offense defense game almost every day.
To the front row in the center.
Philly Sports Live. Same question I asked the players. What are your initial thoughts about playing Villanova on Monday night?
Don't have any, really. I said it out there in the public. Marty Schottenheimer's a great friend, and he always said, let's enjoy the blankety blank out of it until midnight and then worry about what comes after that. I did not watch 1 second of the Villanova-Oklahoma game today. Even after we got here in the arena, I told them, give me a place where there's no TV. Now, I read the Syracuse scouting reports for times 61, 62, and 63 because I thought that was more important to me. But, you know, one of my coaches, either Coach Robinson or Coach McGrath, had Villanova. Coach Davis had Syracuse, so I know one of those guys had it. They'll give me a scouting report early tomorrow morning before practice, and we'll make out a practice that'll help us do some things and get to know them a little better. But other than that, I know Jay Wright, and I love Ryan, the way he plays. Chris Jenkins, I remember going into Nate's home and recruiting Nate and really liking him, and even telling someone that if he didn't sign early, I might try to see if we could get that undersized four-man that I thought was going to be a big-time college player, and that was Chris.
In that second row toward the center.
Roy Bryan, Smith Houston Chronicles. Speaking of Jim and your guys' legacies, what's it like in the game, pre-game, even post-game, passing him, knowing that how many more times will you guys match up together on this stage at this level?
We're both old enough that we'd like to match up with anybody on this stage. We don't care if it's matching up with either the other one or not, but I have a tremendous amount of respect for Jim. They beat us in the elite game, as I said, when I was at Kansas. They beat us in the national championship game in 2003. As I was walking off at halftime, there were three guys that yelled down at me, and I saw who they were. Hey, Williams, you remember 2003, don't you? But their rear ends weren't there when I came off the court at the end of the game because I was looking for them. But it's coaching, and he's a guy that's won so many games and done it. And I've said this before: Syracuse was okay before Jimmy got there, but Jimmy's taken them to levels they never were before. So I think you got to be congratulated for doing that. And I've always thought it was something special. The guy stayed in the same place the whole time.
All the way in the back toward the center.
Jerry Lee Willard Jr., The College Sports Report. Coach, preparedness. 50 points in the paint and 16 points off of turnovers. How much is that a point of emphasis in practice on a daily basis?
One thing about playing someone before, you do get more information and you do know more about them. I wrote down 3 things on the board tonight. The first one was attack their defense with great spacing and great movement and great offensive rebounding, because we had played Syracuse before, and we had some success at Syracuse by getting the ball inside, perhaps more than we did in Chapel Hill. I said box outs. It's got to be our greatest box out game of the year. And they hurt us a couple of possessions, a flurry of 2 or 3 shots. but I think we did a better job of boxing out. And then the third thing was know the personnel. You know, some guys, they set a screen and they're going to slip the screen all the time. Some guys set a screen and they're going to screen. Other guys like Leiden may set the screen and then spin out for three. Our guys really did a good job of what we gave them in the scouting report. And, you know, tendencies, they got tendencies on us too, but I was really proud of the way our guys listened to our scouting report and did the things on the court.
On the right side to the right of the aisle, Coach.
Coach Steve Foster, ESPN San Antonio. Went to the open practice, and was it you or the players that came up with the dunks at the end, and how has that brought the camaraderie together for some guys that are freshmen all the way through seniors for your team this year?
You know, until 2002, 2003, I used to practice in front of the public because then they gave you about an hour and 10 minutes, and then one time they cut it to 45, and you can't get anything done in that. So when they cut it to 45, and I think now it's 50 or something, I don't think you have enough time. So we go practice at Rice for an hour and a half that morning, and then when we came in to practice here in front of the public, I just wanted them to get a lot of shots up and 5 or 6 seconds to go, let them dunk and do what they want to do. It's what I wish I could do. The only thing is I told Isaiah that he could not try to dunk from the foul line like he had done a couple of weeks earlier because his ankle's been bothering him the last couple of times. But that's it's fun for the guys, and it's fun for me. Theo tried some weird dunk, and I hurt my knee trying to jump up to get off the floor to help him, so I told him to not try that one anymore either.
We have time for 2 more questions. Let's go to Zach.
Zach Johnson, Sports Illustrated Kids. What do you try to teach your players besides playing basketball, and how did that contribute to your great win tonight?
You know, Zach, I think if something's really important to you, it's got to be really important. Don't just say it. As I said earlier, I went wacko at one time out because the ball was rolling across the floor, and we had somebody that didn't go after the ball, and Syracuse did, and they pick it up and they score 3. So I've always said and tried to point to our guys, if it really does mean something, then act like it does. Don't just say it. You got to work to get it, work to get it. Then if you do achieve it, you'll even feel better about it. But I hope that I've taught them something other than just how to box out or shoot free throws or whatever. Thank you.
It's time for our final question of the evening, and that goes to Mike on the left of the aisle.
Roy, Mike DeCourcy from Sporting News. When Malachi hit the 3 to cut it to 7 after you guys had been up 17, you needed obviously to get a bucket there. Does it mean more to have Marcus make that shot given what he can mean when he's on?
You know, at that moment, I wanted somebody in North Carolina uniform to make it. But there's no question I got really excited because he had done so many good things and hadn't been able to make a shot, and that was the first 3 our team made. I got a little excited on the sideline at that, and you think about it, and if I had time to reflect, I'd say yes, that it couldn't be more appropriate that it was Marcus Page that did that because he's just been sensational for us all year long. And somebody, you know, all the mock drafts and everything like that, they're not listing that guy. Somebody's going to get a guy that's going to be in the NBA 10 to 12 years, and I'm going to be happy to watch him.
We'd like to thank Coach Williams for joining us
Thanks,
here in the
guys.
main interview room. We'll see you tomorrow, Coach.